Hello, everybody. This is Brother Sage and our panel of urine therapy teachers. We're going to be presenting a panel discussion on the internal use of aged urine. And so we have members of our Shivambhu organization here, board of directors, McLean from California, Christopher, who's out in Colorado with myself, and our associate Daniel up in Canada. So we were expecting Harry Matadeen, who's the author of, is it 4 books on aged urine, to be joining us. We're holding the space that he may come in any time now, but we're going to get started anyway so we can go over these topics. Now, if anybody has any questions during this presentation, you're welcome to type that into the chat feed, and we'll either address it during our presentation or we'll get to it after this. Now, some people can only stay an hour-ish, and I'll be staying a little bit longer if anybody has anything who you want to add after that. There's Harry. Good morning, Harry.
Hey, Harry. Welcome.
Hey, Christopher.
Here you go.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, guys, exactly.
Yeah.
Honored to be asked by Brother Sage on again. I love it. And Christopher, thank you for participating here.
Yeah, glad you could join us. And we're going to just jump right in because we got some time limitations. So,
sorry.
Go ahead and play.
Why don't you just let Harry know what you decided about time and how to divide the time?
Yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, so we have 9 topics, and we're going to give like 4 minutes to each topic. And then, you know, if there's questions at the end, I don't see anybody joining us so far in terms of, you know, an audience. But if we get some people joining us, we can entertain those questions.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right, so I'm just going to start the timer. The first question is regarding the chemical profile of aged urine. And so when we were like, you know, talking about, well, you know, should aged urine be, you know, used for internal consumption, we realized that there's all this, you know, profiling going on for fresh urine, but when it comes to aged, there's like nothing out there. At least it's not in the public, you know, It's not for public view. So we've actually started asking. We found a place in Wake Forest. Is where is that?
In South Carolina.
South Carolina, and it's actually an institute specifically for stem cell research.
We found several.
Yeah. So Sage, you wanna just briefly state what we found out so far?
Well, they've done stem cell research before, and we approached the folks at Wake Forest to see if they would work with us to do a research project and analysis of aged urine. And the woman who's Chinese has written several articles and abstracts about stem cells and related to urine, misunderstood and thought we were talking about the composition of the urine of aged people. And so we're going, you know, I've been going back and forth with her on the email to get really clear. And what we want is the urine itself of somebody like 30-day-old aged urine, so we can get a deeper look into it and come up with our own analysis and composition. So she got back to me and says, well, there is a cost involved, so I'm waiting to hear back from her. And if it's something that we can do, we'll go forward with this organization.
We did find out, she did include in her email that what they have found is that stem cells actually decrease as the urine gets older because they can't survive the temperature. Now, there was some suggestion that if you actually refrigerate urine, that the stem cells would, you know, like there'd be a better chance of them surviving. But what she said is that they decreased in normal temperature, and she didn't say anything about them proliferating. So that's kind of what we know so far.
The other thing I want to point out, and I'll be really quick about it, I have found an article or an abstract from Korea from 2011, And there's several references that indicate that they got the confirmation that medical science has confirmed that urine therapy is valid for human use or regenerative medicine. And they have listed several doctors, Dr. Sano, a Korean physician, Dr. Son, Dr. Lee, and these people all met at the first 3 urine therapy conference calls that started in India and Germany and Greece. And these are doctors that put their name and their reputation behind urine therapy.
Cool. Hey, so Harry, is there anything you want to say before we move on to the?
No, thank you for. I'm always open to science. Look, I'm definitely a big believer in experience. That's all I know on urine, but I do like the science aspect too, and it has validity. So if you guys are saying that there's some evidence coming out that the stem cells could actually potentially die and be less, I'm all ears. I'm not going to go and say. I mean, there was a standard community line that as urine ages, it gets more proliferation of stem cells. So, I mean, if that's the case, I'd go with that, and who's to deny that? But I would argue that aged urine, you can argue on the semantics of what is the reason, is it can't be stem cells then, but I just know in my heart, and Brother Sage and many of us here know that it gets more powerful for whatever reason, the older it gets. And then you've got other debates around, maybe we could discuss, like some texts say only to put it on the skin, and I don't believe in that. So, you know, I just say do everything.
All right, so that was our timer for the next topic. The next topic is pH. So Doc Mike, who I don't know if you've met, he's actually never been visual on a Zoom call, but he always calls in because he doesn't do computers. He said that he tested like 13-year-old aged urine and found that the pH was like 14, you know, like completely, you know, like way on the other end of this, you know, spectrum. And so the question is, I guess, you know, the chemical profile may verify that, but the question is it good to actually ingest 14 pH, you know, alkaline substance, you know? So that's something that we also hope to find out.
That's interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, after a couple of months, most people's age urine gets to pH 10, which is already extremely alkaline, in my opinion. It goes blue and purple in the strip. And I also believe alkalinity is the key to health, not just alkaline diet, alkaline liquids, and you can wipe out any diseases. So in my head and thinking and my experience, whenever I take extremely alkaline, older aged urine, what I notice is my breath slows down more, which ties into what they say about alkaline. It slows the breath down. It really oxygenates the cells and feeds the cells pure oxygen, so you need less food. So when I've messed about with really old aged urine, I found it more elevating for my consciousness, more energy, more breath slow down, more calmness, more sacred center. So I wouldn't be adverse, to example, for myself, taking pH 14 with no fear. But that doesn't mean I'm not everybody. I know other people have their concerns. So, you know, they're them and they do me. But until I see, the only thing I would say as well to add to that is you might get a detox reaction when something's pH 14 and you're new to health. And then people associate that with the medicine not working. So you need to have some kind of understanding of health before you get involved with something like pH 14 aged urine, drinking it or putting it on your skin. If you're new, you're going to have reaction. But no, I think extremely, because I think it's organic ammonia we're talking about here. We're talking about organic alkalinity, not inorganic alkalinity.
And you think there's a difference that when it's
I can only say from my own experience, because I've drunk so much old stuff and it's never done me harm. It's only seemed to make me more healthier and vibrant. So I can only go off my experience and the people on Facebook that I know as well that have talked about it. I've never heard any adverse, you know, reactions from it.
Well, the question I get from a friend of mine who's a naturopath, she wants to know is if there are foods that are alkaline prior to introducing them to the body, and the alkalinity might switch. And she's concerned that a high alkalinity might affect the sensitive acid alkaline balance in the body. But that's her approach.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Say it more, or give me one. Yeah.
What's that?
Can I say a bit more? I was just thinking of the
Okay.
stomach is acid, right? So they say the stomach's extremely acid. And I remember a guy called Carlos Garcia and a few other people on Facebook have drunk it on purpose just after we've eaten foods. So you'd think logically, extremely alkaline aged urine would interfere with the digestion when you've just eaten. You need apparently strong acids in the stomach, and yeah, it seems to improve the digestion. So my experiences and those of my friends seems to go against the idea that of this delicate balance that it's almost like the body can control itself with the balance. And when you put a load of pH organic aged urine, it doesn't interfere in a negative way ever. It seems to maximize the detox processes and everything, even the digestion, which doesn't make any sense in one way because that needs extreme acid, right? So I don't know. I don't think there's any wrong with it from what I've seen.
Okay. So our next topic is the long-term effect of ingesting aged urine. So, we know the long-term effects of ingesting fresh urine. I mean, we have like 6,000 years of at least known history of, where it's been written about and people have practiced it. And, so we know that. But I don't know, like, Harry, do you know of people, like, who's the first person besides yourself that you heard of who practices the internal consumption of aged urine?
Okay, so I knew Brother Sage did it, but before Brother Sage, and I think a lot of people the same as me, and it was Monica Shute on Facebook back in 2017. When I put myself in Facebook groups on urine just for fresh. I'd never heard of aged fermented urine. And then Monica was talking about rubbing on the skin and also drinking it. And of course, being experimenters that I and a few other people here are, we went and found out that the aging of urine seemed to do a whole different thing to the fresh urine.
Right. Yeah. And so, so we're talking about like 5 years here. And I would think, to actually study long-term effects, you'd need like at least 10 years and maybe like half a lifetime, if not a whole lifetime, to actually see what the effects are. So that's, if we could find people to start testing, to start documenting, that would be a good thing.
Well, I'm happy to be the guinea pig for this because I already know my heart. I mean, if I sincerely believed, right, this was going to harm me in the long term, as my dad actually still tells me, he thinks in the long term, I'm literally shortening my life. If I thought that in my heart, I obviously would stop this practice. I would take my book off Amazon and I would not talk about it. So I know my truth. The question is, do you resonate with that and want to commit to something without the studies being there? Yeah. Because every time I do the aged urine rubs, I feel amazing. Every time I do the aged urine drinking, I feel amazing. Because it slows my breath down. There's science on the slower your breath rate, resting breath rate, the longer you are going to live. Tortoises breathe very slowly, live forever. Mice breathe quickly and shallow, they die quickly. Humans, anyone that does with aged urine can do that simple experiment. Breath slow down. Oh, I'm going to live longer. Sometimes it's quite simple.
Unmute yourself, Christopher.
Anything else on the long-term effect of aged urine?
Nah, not really.
No?
I mean, it's high alkaline. It's got a lot of negative ions, and negative ions are also we can prove with an ORP meter, and that is the key. It's like air, electricity, lightning comes down, gives us negative ions. We've got negative ions from the sea and beach. And are we going to argue that beaches and sea is no good for us? Breathing in fresh air from countryside is no good for us and is damaging to our health because there's no studies on them. They're the same thing. Negative ions from an aged urine is the same negative ions you get from beach air, from trees, from waterfalls. So in ways, there is science on these things. The negative ion aspect.
So how do you know that there's negative ions in aged urine?
We all know it with an ORP meter that you can buy very cheap on Amazon because it comes onto the minus. There's a plus. Fresh urine doesn't actually. Fresh urine doesn't have that negative ions. Fresh urine, I believe, is distilled water, but it doesn't according to the machine. But it goes minus 100, minus 200, depending on how old the aged urine is. Yeah, it's called ORP meter. ORP.
ORP.
Oxidative reduction potential meter. ORP meter if you type on Amazon.
Cool.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. topic 4 is is about the skin barrier. So when we were talking earlier, like a few months ago, Sage suggested that, well, I mean, what's the difference between putting it on your skin and adjusting it orally? Because, it still gets absorbed when you put it on your skin. But obviously, there's something going on with the skin barrier, that the skin barrier, it obstructs, the passage of certain things. And it's like, we don't know about that. What is that barrier, and what does it do? And how that might, figure in on, fresh urine versus aged urine internally.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think they're the same ways, drinking it and putting it on the skin, and then the opposite ways. So they're a paradox. They're the same way because underneath the level of the surface of the skin, very, 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 very little underneath, like 1/10 of a millimeter, you pinprick yourself, you're going to bleed. So what I'm saying is there's blood networks running around the entire surface of the skin. So when you drink, obviously that disseminates and goes into your blood circulatory system, but also when you put it on your skin, it also goes into the circulatory system. It's just a different way. But the skin, like you said, Christopher, is a barrier. So what that means in my head is that it takes a little longer to get into the blood networks by rubbing it on the skin. So if you rubbed on your hands, it'll get into the blood. But also, it won't just go all into the blood. There's other things to consider here. Now, there's the skin that it's going to get sit in. It's going to get absorbed deeper into the fascia. There's not just blood here, yeah? When you put on the skin, there's fascia. There's all kinds of things that could get stuck. And when I say stuck, I mean if you want to heal that area on a deeper level, you have to rub it in quite a lot because you've got levels of skin that the urine will get... you just have to spend a lot of time with the skin ones if you want to commit to a certain area, whereas drinking it is much easier for people. And sometimes you can get more profound results from drinking it because that just, once you drink, the body knows how to send that around the entire body. But the skin is more for localized. Say you have a specific issue, some area needs to heal, tumors, benign or whatever. These are great for the skin. But if people can, they should always do both.
So, I think that to do some research about the skin barrier would be good to actually, know exactly what's being kept out, and, is everything coming through eventually, or are there certain things that are just not that?
I know intuitively from my own body feel that 100% you put on the skin, the aged urine, it pulls out toxins. So it will go into the skin and it will, like a target radar, like a magnet, it gets in the skin. And then what it does is it pushes out everything that's not supposed to be there, that's stuck in your skin, toxins. And sometimes if you drink it, unless you're drinking loads, you're going to still have toxins in your skin and fascia. But if you put it in your skin, it's just sending the medicine like a magnet and it just repels. And these toxins that are stuck in the skin and fascia, they have to come out through the skin. So they go, aged urine goes in and it comes out through the skin. It has to, because the magnet comes in and they're opposites. Is it opposites attract or repel? Yeah. But you know what I mean. Like it just pushes
attract.
Out.
Yeah.
It attracts and just pulls it out of the body like it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So would you say that that's as deep as it goes into the body? It's just the skin layer?
No, Brother Sage. I'd say that if you rub it for like the same area, that's why we recommend like at least half an hour. Do what you can, people. But if you do a longer aged urine whole body massage, you feel so relivant because it goes way deeper than the skin. It goes into the fascia, the blood. In fact, it goes into the hidey holes that sometimes you can miss through drinking. If you spend enough time doing the skin rubs, whole body, you will get every single toxin out.
Okay, moving on to topic 5. 5 are the established no's to internal use of aged urine, and specifically, if we go the furthest back in history, it's Damar Tantra, and then coming forward in the time of Buddha, that would be 500 BC, right? That's what we're talking about. Damar Tantra is like 4000 BC. There's the Theravada Tipitaka, which is where this is where I know you've talked about this, Harry, about that. Your interpretation of that text is that they're saying yes to what they're calling fertilized urine. But when you the most recent interpretation that I've heard, it's regarding the word puti muta, which means undesirable or putrid or fermented. But what the thing that was what they explained in the article was that the confusion was that most people, today and even back then, they thought urine, what? You're gonna drink urine? What? That's disgusting, And so they were actually addressing that. They were saying this stuff that you call disgusting, putrid urine is actually good for your health, so that they were actually naming fresh urine as putrid because that's the way people thought, and they were not talking about fermented urine. So that's the controversy there. And then of course there's also Armstrong back in the 1920s, who said no, and he was probably relying on the Maratantra and the Buddhist text.
Didn't John Armstrong say in his book, though, he was using 3 or 4 day or week old aged urine rubs from the people that were ill, as well as the drinking of fresh? Wasn't that? Am I correct?
Right. We're just talking about internal consumption.
Oh, sorry, internal consumption. Yeah, I didn't think Armstrong encouraged it. No, but I obviously interpret it differently to you, and that's okay for everyone to have different interpretations. Because, like, for me, I've done Vipassana meditation, and I done something illegal, I guess, because in Vipassana meditation, you're not supposed to mess about with any other therapies, no urine, nothing. I took a bottle of aged urine to Vipassana, and when I was doing the meditation and I was rubbing it at nighttime, a little bit of my aged urine on my forehead, all I can say was my chakras went from I felt it. I was in a purified state for meditation. From the aged, it went from there up to here, top of my head. And that was the beginning of an awareness, because I was using aged urine every day secretly. It was enhancing my Buddha's meditation. I was following the Buddha's apparent meditation. So it resonated with me. The Buddha actually used this meditation to help him achieve enlightenment, because it helped me tremendously on my Vipassana meditation with the concentration aspect of what we were supposed to do. So I know in my heart, I wrote a book on it, the Aged Urine Buddha and Vipassana.
But are you talking about aged urine topically or aged urine internally?
Oh, okay. So I did both, Christopher. I did it topically, and I got chakra bursts and all this moving around. And when I drank it, just before, I would secretly drink it before the meditation in the hall, and my meditations went 10,000 times better. I'm not even exaggerating. I could concentrate on my whole body scan, which is part of the Vipassana, so much easier when I was drinking a little bit of aged urine. It was a ridiculous, like.
Just curious, is that the the Goenka, the sweeping technique?
Correct. Yes.
I do that myself. I've been doing that since 1980.
So then it's up to you, Christopher. Do the experiment. Try drinking a little bit of aged before you do that, and notice the difference. It's a huge difference.
Okay, so
nice.
Yeah, let's move on to the next topic, which is the yeses. So that's there's lots of people, just like there's lots of people who are proponents of no to aged urine internally, but there's you, Harry, there's Monica Shute, and of course Sage and McLean, they and many other people. Do you want to say something about I guess what we're talking about here is that we have a movement here, right? We have this we could call it the Shivambhu movement, but it's the movement of urine therapy in the world. And there's some people leading this movement, and there's some organizations who are leading this movement, and there are a lot of people who are following. And I think it's important, it's responsible of the people who are leading to give information that the rest of the people can make informed decisions with. And so that's kind of the, it's like, it's important to lay out, well, these people are saying no, these people are saying yes. So do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, aged urine is just the most powerful free medicine in the world. I love urine therapy. I start with fresh. Fresh woke me up from depression, energy. I'll always promote fresh urine and say that your own urine is amazing. But my favorite specialty, as Brother Sage and you guys know, is like, and that's what I wrote the book about. No one had talks, and I don't think it's talked about enough, aged urine, because I always go for my life for the most powerful vibration. People always wonder, now that I'm affiliated with supplements, why am I doing this? Why am I talking about other things? Because I think the body has no limit to its highest vibration here. And I'm so glad that urine therapy was my first port of call into that massive vibration shift. And I'm so glad Monica talked about aged urine. I'm so glad I tried and was willing to go to the places against the Dharma Tantra, against interpretations of what could limit me and put me in a box, because I'm only here to heal my trauma and to help people through the lessons I learn. And the powerful tools like aged urine have shown me that my capacity to heal myself is amazing. And if I can do it, anyone can do it, because my body's my body, your body functions the same as my body. It's the most powerful free medicine. Honestly, that statement will never change. Aged urine is the most powerful free medicine available to man. And in these times where people can't afford powerful supplements and energy devices, which do exist, there's many of them out there that are amazing. The free therapy that everyone can afford is the aged urine, and it goes very deep. No one needs to die from lack of hunger when you've got urine fasting and aged urine fasting. The medical system is telling us lies for a very deliberate reason. They're trying to sell us drugs to kill us, and the aged urine will save us. And that sounds like a ridiculous statement, but I think it's important for all of us to carry on the work in our individual spheres of influence, whether that be big, small. Everyone has sphere of influence. Just keep shouting the word that this urine is a waste. Do you know what? When I meet people, I always say to taxi drivers, and you guys know this, so many people are indifferent, but never stop doing it, because you just never know who you're going to wake up in this lifetime. You might say it 1 year, 10 years down the line, you'll never know that all of a sudden they're doing urine therapy. They might not remember who it was, but it was you. And I also believe come the end of your life, you will see all the good you've done. When your life flashes before your eyes, and there's no time, you will see all the good that you can't possibly imagine you've done in this life through little things like telling people, do you know what? I drank my urine. I heard this aged urine has changed my life. You just don't know the kind of impact you do, but you have to sometimes speak, because a lot of people, as me, Brother Sage, and you guys know, they watch and they're a bit afraid. So the port of call is for people that are a bit afraid to like start opening your mouth, even if it's just your friends and family, because there's no good. I mean, in a way, you can only work on your own vibration. That's cool. Do the urine secretly, whatever. But you have to speak up about things, because that's how we change the world. Because if you don't, everyone is going to assume that urine is a waste. Everyone's going to assume urine is only for topical use. And that's dangerous, because not everyone can do topical use of aged urine because it smells, because of their situation. So if I'm saying things like, you can still get some powerful medicine if you drink it, it's important to break all of the dogmas. That's how I've rolled my entire life.
Yeah, and personal experience is very valuable, but objective, experience is also very valuable, especially when you're an organization trying to help a large
Sure.
portion of people.
Yep. Oh, can I
Yeah.
just add one thing as well, Christopher and guys? I'm gonna see a naturopath who looks at urine under. She's gonna look at urine under the microscope for me, aged urine under a
Oh,
very
good.
powerful microscope. So
Oh,
we're gonna
wow.
prove what I think we already know, that it's like a crystal. Urine, the main power of
Okay.
urine and age is a liquid crystal. So we're gonna see under a microscope what urine looks like, and a very high powered one. I'll be sure to record it and get pictures for us.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be very useful.
A person you want to bring in that conversation with you, Harry, is Fiona Gardner out in California. She has been doing images with high-powered microscopes and showing the crystalline structure of the urine. She's currently working on 1-year-old urine to look close and find those structures. So it'd be nice to bring her into a conversation.
Oh my God! If you guys ever have her on, can I please join? I'd like to listen.
She's one of my students, so I've got a connection. We'll see what we can do.
Oh, cool.
Her name again is Fiona.
Fiona Gardner.
Okay.
Her Instagram is Messages in Urine.
Okay.
And she's got quite a following, so yeah, let's support her.
Yeah.
Right. So the next topic is Indigenous people. So and when I say Indigenous people, I mean probably, we're all Indigenous, but more like the Native Americans, or the Native Indian tribes of the world, because they have a history of using urine also, and
They do.
this is a place for research, because there might be some mention of internal consumption of aged urine amongst these people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
does anybody, know anything in that regard, or have any ideas about how to find out more?
Well, I've heard from Monica Shute, and I've been in South America a bit, and I think it's very true, because when I've been wandering around Central, it seems like a lot of people's grandmothers have to know about the urine therapy for wounds and cuts. But also, I resonate with Monica's idea that apparently in South America, in certain countries like Bolivia and Peru, they do carry vats of aged urine, like in pots, clay pots, and they use that for medicine. That resonates strongly with me. Nothing surprises me anymore.
But they use it for medicine topically or internally?
Correct. Emergency medicine topically.
Topically.
I haven't heard from drinking it. I just heard.
Right. And that is specifically what we're here today to investigate, is the internal consumption.
Oh, right. So I've not heard that. No.
Yeah.
Now I'm willing to contact Kiana, who's out in she's out in Oahu. She's pure-blooded Hawaiian, so she might be able to help me out with the lineage and the traditions of the Hawaiians. And also keep in mind that a lot of the things that have been handed down through the indigenous tribes on the planet aren't necessarily written down. So a lot of it has been passed on by storytelling and generation to generation.
Right. It's like these people need to be interviewed.
Keep it alive.
Yeah, but the problem is that a lot of them won't want to be these people. They're the kind of people that don't want to be interviewed. So
they're not candidates.
Yeah, this is why I like traveling at the moment, because I'm just like talking. When I talk to people about urine, I hear stories of like, my grandmom told me about this and that. And it's not just Europeans, it's just around the world. I'm hearing that it seems to been, I mean, there is an awakening, but there's more older people that say knew about urine to me than younger people. Just from me talking to people, that's what the vibes I'm getting.
Sure, yeah.
Harry, do you remember having conversations or watching me interview Dr. Bunmi Samola out in Africa? He's out in Nigeria. When he was 10 years old, he was sick. His mom knew the old ways, and she had enough wisdom or discernment to give her urine to her son. He recovered, he healed. Now, 25 years later, he's not only very loud proponent of urine therapy, he's building a clinic on his property, a urine therapy clinic in Nigeria.
Is he? Wow, I've always been supportive to him. He goes way back like us to the urine, and he's always supported us. And yes, I mean, if we could go to see him one day, that'd be amazing.
So I will ask him about the traditions out there in Nigeria.
Sure. It's quite common for face nappy rash all around. I mean, loads of grannies know about that one. Face nappy rash on the face for babies and all these things.
Sage, will you write his name in the
Sure.
In the chat? Thanks.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Okay. So next topic is what I call mutation. So the idea that if we take electricity, for instance, like in the late 1700s, people were were turning on to electricity, like Ben Franklin, and like, wow, look at, what can this can do. And they were using it, actually using it for health purposes. But if you track it, and this is a lot, I'm reading a book called The Invisible Rainbow. I highly recommend it.
I was just thinking of that while you were talking. How cool. Synchro.
Oh, yeah. And it tracks, and it's showing that, well, yeah, okay, so electricity was having, an effect on humanity, both positive and negative, and he actually tracks it. And all the biggest, epidemics that have happened in humanity were all closely related to new developments in electromagnetic, technology, like the Spanish flu, excuse me, in 1917, and and then polio, and which I think is aligned with the radio waves, and then the Hong Kong flu with satellites, and then you have like the internet, and then the cell phones and everything. And excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So the idea here is that humanity is very adaptable. you know, and we do have the ability to sort of wrap our DNA around new elements in our environment. And that's, you know, that's speaking for most of humanity. Now there's a significant portion of humanity that just cannot do that, and these people get adversely sick and die, and you know, and that's happened with electricity. And so if we apply the same kind of thing to the internal consumption of aged urine, it's you know, it's like, okay, here's something that was, you know, that comes from, you know, long ago, and there's an initiative to kind of modernize it right now. And I think you're one of the leading proponents of that modernization of urine therapy, which is, you know, you're saying, yeah, aged urine is, we're a new species, you know, we've changed. And in fact, by drinking aged urine, we will change, you know, we will turn into, you know, we'll evolve more into who we're supposed to be. So that's the question is, you know, how does mutation figure in here? You know, that I guess if you look at it, regardless of whether it's, you know, good or bad, or how does mutation figure in here?
Well, that's interesting because you look at this in many angles, Christopher. And one way maybe that I could look at it is that, I mean, I believe that we're created by God. We are God consciousness, and we are God walking around in me, yous, and everyone else's, and everyone's a fractal. And we just forgotten that we're all connected to each other because we don't feel it most of the time. And of course, that ties into the urine being the medicine that God created for us, and we're a piece of God. And if we ever get in trouble, let's use it. So in my heart, it resonates that, okay, so he's created this fresh urine for cuts, wounds, and emergencies and to drink. And then God goes, oh, but, you know, for the warfare that we're under bombardment with now more than ever, and especially with books like Invisible Rainbow saying, and I agree, with EMF proliferation, we're under attack far more than we've ever have been, and we've de-evolved in many aspects. God would have known this pre-warned, because we have free will, but we also, everything's planned already, and God knows it's all going to go to shit because what humans are like. He's going to create a medicine that maybe the fresh was never enough for these times, and maybe there was like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to put the clues out there, put the medicine there that's free, let it ferment, and it's going to become more powerful that I create for everyone, and they're going to have to figure it out. And then they're going to have people like me, Brother Sage, and other people will talk about it openly, that apparently these new forms that maybe weren't done, or maybe were, but say they weren't, they have to come out, because in a way what we're doing is just evolving and using all the tools we can to maximize ourselves, because we're under attack now far more than we ever have been. And maybe it was God that created all this, and the fermentation by some mystery. I mean, I think the mystery is basically fresh urine is most powerful for its structured water. That's the main reason it's so powerful. It's got a million other things that are good for it. And then when it ages, it becomes way more structured. The same water becomes extremely more negatively charged. It becomes like liquid electricity for the human body. So when you're pumping yourself with electricity by drinking it, energy goes up, and body runs electricity. And yeah, I think it was literally created like as, oh, and also I think it's ironic. I think God has a sense of humor too, because the aged urine obviously a lot of the time smells. So there's like a part of the process God wants us to go through to awaken is made a bit harder, because the aging becomes more powerful, but also becomes more stinky, which puts most normal people off it and think that's disgusting. And why would it be more powerful? Because it's smelly. If something's smelly to normal people, it must be disgusting and useless and dangerous, right? That's how people think. So God has the sense of humor to put the smelliness linked in with the power, and it's for us to figure out. That's how I see it in my head.
It's kind of like the strychnine on peyote.
Say that again, like the
I like the strychnine on peyote.
Yeah, what's that, Christopher?
Oh well, peyote is the psychedelic cactus.
Right, yeah.
And there's this white kind of hair that you have to pick off of. It's poisonous. You've got to pick that off of the peyote and then eat the peyote. So there's like a barrier that you have to intentionally go through in order to get to the jewel. You know?
Oh, I like that. That resonates with me. I knew what peyote was. I didn't know there was a process that's complicated and dangerous to get to the goodies. So that makes sense to me. And like you could argue also like Mother Ayahuasca, the plant medicine, that was a bit of a complicated process of trying to figure out experiments. It wasn't just like one leaf or one plant. It was a mixture, a combo of accidents that created this amazing medicine. Right.
Yeah.
McLean, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to add, I find myself saying this in groups when, I don't know, certain conversations happen. I just want to say, I don't know if you know, Harry, I've been doing this for about 50 years. And I also, since before urine, have been eating a non-chemical diet. Really eat organic. I have like 3 restaurants. One's a macrobiotic, that are committed. And I'm in California. I'm in Northern California where I have really access to all this food. And I have to say that the smell, the strong smell from urine, it's my experience, is really from chemicals. And that
Right.
my aged urine does not give off,
Interesting.
it does not smell strong, it doesn't, nothing. And if I'm somewhere, which it's really rarely, but I tried it with asparagus that people think, that is so strong in pee, and organic asparagus, that's not what it's like. And I just recently noticed that the sediment on the bottom, I have barely any sediment. And not very long ago, a year, I would pee and I would notice, geez, that sediment builds up sort of right away, 2 days, 3 days. I mean, I can see it. I have so little sediment. I don't know what that's about, but I think a lot of, and I think it's the same thing, if you don't mind, with poop, the smell, it's chemicals. So, and
Wow.
I feel like God made this strong enough that he knew that urine would take care of even the
Even
chemicals,
the chemicals.
even the
Agree.
whatever. But
Yep.
so I always have to add that, but I don't know anyone who has my kind of, really, I'm not kidding,
Yeah.
around my 99.9%. I
Nice.
know that organics use a certain kind of chemical or whatever, but it's not
No,
the chemicals out there. So I
that's
just
interesting.
add that.
That's very
McLean,
interesting. Yeah.
McLean, how long have you been doing aged urine internally?
Probably 3, 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. I'm terrible with that, but more recently, five,
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
And I will say I took what Armstrong said about aged and fresh mixed, that it's stronger for external. I use aged and mixed internally because of him saying that.
Mm.
I mean, we all do if we're doing it at different times, but I put them together. I always leave some in a cabinet.
McLean, is it possible what you just shared, incredible testimonial and insight about not being chemical free, did not come out as a smelly ammonia, smell, and the sediment? Is there some way you can write a paragraph or so? Because this is something that's going to be historic. I think a lot of people will want to hear this.
I'm happy to. I read, yes, I don't have a time limit. I could do it. And I'll say, saying it, it's sort of like, I don't know. Sure, sure. I will say it. And, like Harry said, it's planting a seed. Planting a seed, you never know who wants to. And
It'll get out
where it
there.
will take.
All right. Well, to conclude, we've already talked about the stem cells. Is there anything else? I mean,
Can I just add one thing?
when
Can I
I
add
was
one thing?
let me just say that when I was considering, I have done aged urine internally for a bit, and when the thing that the strongest argument was that there were more stem cells in it, and I heard that from you, Harry, and so now it's looking like maybe there's not as many stem cells, but wait, yeah, go ahead and say what do you
So
how do
just
you
to add
feel
on
about
to, I was going to
yeah.
say something else, but to retort to you, the main reason aged urine becomes more powerful is because it becomes uber super structured. It increases alkalinity, and that means that it increases the oxygenation when you drink it. So now, because it's uber super structured, basically the water becomes much more clustered and micro clustered. So what that means is when you drink it, the charge gets ridiculous, and because it's uber super structured, it gets deep within every cell of the body, and that's the key. The fresh urine does a very good job, but it's a bit more surface level dependent because it's not as structured. The key to the urine is that fourth phase of water between a solid and a liquid, like a liquid crystal, and that could be linked in. The liquid crystal aged urine could be linked in with the crystal that we're going to see under the microscope, with the crystals at the bottom that people see. They might be the liquid crystal aged urine.
Yeah. Well, that footage from the microscope that you're talking about getting, that will be really good, because once again, what we're trying to do here is personal experience is very valuable, but objectivity is also, especially when we're representing a whole movement of people. And so to get, to actually see, oh yeah, well, in aged urine, yes, here's fresh urine under the microscope, here's aged urine under the microscope, look how much more structured that is. And so then we go on to the next question which would be, ingesting such structured whatever water liquid, what effect does that have on the body? And so that we can offer something that is information that that's objective, that many people can rely on in making a decision for themselves.
Yeah, I like it. I just want to say, Chris, you're looking very healthy yourself, and that's good to see. So obviously the urine therapy for all of us is working, Brother Sage too. We're all looking good.
I'm looping every day, and I do aged urine topically, every day. So yeah, I'm just, and personally, I'd like to have this controversy sort of, figured out, for myself, as well as for the whole movement.
Yeah, I mean, lastly, I'll just say that my books, I've just got amazing reviews of it. No one's ever come to me on Messenger and talked to me and said, do you know what, Harry, you're promoting your book, Aged Urine Drinking, which was one of the 8 ways. It was one of my favorite ways I put in the book to drink it. That was the whole point of the book, to break a little bit of that dogma. And no one's ever come and said, do you know what, Harry, it's dangerous. I found the aged urine drinking's bad, but the aged urine topically is okay. Honestly, I'm not even lying, guys. No one's ever said this to me. And people message me, like Brother Sage, all the time with sometimes no communication, all of a sudden urine therapy questions. I've done this, aged urine. I don't even know they're existing, all these people. So I'll keep my ears open for any criticisms I've heard or dangers of aged urine drinking. But
we should consider Monica Schmidt. Is that her name? Shoot. No, not Shoot.
Oh, Monica Swift.
Yeah.
Swift, who has I guess a Facebook page, a website, and she literally deletes comments from people who say it's good to internally ingest aged urine. So there are strong proponents.
Maybe it'd be interesting if you guys could have her on and explain the exact reasons, because I think we need to expand. We can't just have someone. I don't know the reasons, by the way. I'm not saying she's blocking, but I need her to. I think we all need her to expand on the reasons, either from her expectations or what she thinks on why it's so dangerous. I would love a video to see in that.
Yeah, I agree. And we actually tried to get her on this call, and I guess she just kind of ignored, the invitation. Yeah.
She also might not want to be in a debate, but she might be willing to talk about it just as presenting her side.
That'd be interesting, just her side. Yeah.
We can get at least an audio on some of the people on these Facebook groups. They don't want to be known or seen physically, but maybe we can get an audio. I got a quick question to McLean. Since you noticed that the appearance and the smell and everything about the aged urine is different by being chemical free, does that affect what people usually experience as the sting, the 3-second sting for snorting it or putting in their eyes? Do you have that sting, or do you use those kind of topical protocols?
I have their sting. It's not in everything, but there's sting. And I had the experience of age, like taking and peeling the inside of my mouth and all the skin, everything. I was like, what?
I had the same. Yeah. First time I took like a real healthy gulp of it, and it's like my mouth exploded with mucus. It was
there's still sting, but different. I mean, it's not always the same. I'm just started doing goggles, and I've only done it once with very aged. I like mix a little in, but it burns.
But even after the burn, guys, doesn't it feel amazing? It's like when you do the foot rubs or you put your feet in it, your feet feel like they can breathe. There's like a clarity in your feet. You can feel them. And same with the mouth ones after the burn or after the nose one, you feel the burn's obviously not a nice feeling, but it's the afterwards feeling that tells me, oh, it's okay, because I feel amazing now. It's like really good.
Yeah, it reminds me of a niacin flush.
Oh, which I haven't done yet. Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Nice
that's
old
a whole
fashioned
other
version.
conversation. But
Yeah.
once it's gone through your system, it's over with. And this is only like when you get the nose and eye sting, it doesn't last long. It's the immediate response you get. Oh, that hurts, but it goes away.
Yep.
So guys, I need to duck out now. Harry and Daniel, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Daniel, as well.
And
Yeah.
hopefully this video will, get this whole topic rolling and just, add to the consciousness of this movement and the consciousness of humanity.
Sure. Shout out. I just want to shout myself out. I've got it on TV, and between April and June, my E4 show on the urine therapy for the celebrities is coming out, and I'll let you guys know about that. Hopefully it'll be on YouTube, available little clips, because it's just part of the awakening, like just getting the word out there. I'm very open, and I like to talk about it, and yeah.
So
I can't wait to see.
are you like interviewing celebrities?
No, I run 8 celebrities through a challenge with fresh urine. So we drunk it. They drunk their own, and to varying reactions. They put a bit of their own fresh on a bottle on their skin too. No aged. It was just done that day. But yeah, it's just an interesting part of an awakening. It was called extreme retreats. So they were doing all kinds of health therapies.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks.
Blessings. Be sure to send me, I didn't get Christopher, but Harry, be sure to send me any links. We lost him. Any links that anybody wants posted in the description area of the video when this is all said and done. What I'm going to do, let me turn off the recording here.